Yesterday was the massacre of Halabja against the Kurdish people in Iraq, and today silent genocide massacres in Iraq. Electronic mind control weapons are used to kill the Iraqi people. Iraq's money was used to build chemical weapons factories during the time of the previous regime and internationally prohibited weapons and other things, and the people were left to suffer from poverty and isolation, and also now, Iraq's money has been stolen and is still being stolen to finance weapons programs for mind control in Iraq, and its value is a very imaginary thing. Terror gangs against European and American countries, it seems, no one wants to learn the lesson in Iraq. A demon has appeared who made himself a prophet and says that he knows the unseen, or he is the voice of God, and with him a homosexual security agent. As I see, they want to stay alone with their servants in Iraq and kill all or make them slaves by using their electronic weapons and different kind of abuse and BTRYAL, and as usual they trying to hide this.
My butler, the Cyclops my valet, a centaur drives my chariot that takes me down the way. A river made of fire, through a street that's paved in bones. I got a dozen zombie skeletons to walk me to my throne. In the land of the dead, heck boy ain't it grand. I'm the overlord of the underworld, 'cause I hold horror's hand. In the land of the dead, dark-side royalty. I'm foreign out in the underground, and you can't take that from me. Whoa, 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 ow, 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 ow. Cerberus, my lapdog, as loyal as can be. My bed is made of skulls, I'm in the lap of luxury. I got dragon's blood jacuzzi, the Gorgon think is cool, and a seven-headed hydra living in my swimming pool. In the land of the dead, and boy ain't it grand. I'm the overlord of the underworld, 'cause I hold horror's hand. In the land of the dead, I'm dark-side royalty. I'm foreign out in the underground, and you can't take that away from me. No, you can't take that from me.
Greetings. Of course, the worst thing I have is to repeat what I say, which is not good, but given the importance of the subject, I will focus on very important points. Of course, the topic is about mind control gangs in Iraq and about selection victims. Of course, before start I will give a definition of these gangs, which is perhaps for a loneliness. It is enough that it is a gang that hides its real leader and is looking for a foolish, poor or simple person in order to throw responsibility on him or make him appear as if he is its leader among us. They hide their true leader. For victims of choice a scapegoat, and these are either deceived or made like this while they do not know and do not know this, or they are deceived and made to believe that they have obtained hay from God or his gift and are made to believe that this gang is a holy organization, for example, or they believe that the Holy Spirit has entered into their bodies, while he is a devil terrorist, planted slices for mind control over them, and he is the one who leads this gang, not the Holy Spirit. It's a gang that uses technology. This is a very brief definition of these gangs. Now we start the topic. I will make it as a set of questions. First, is mind control a weapon in the case of a tank or plane? It can be bought and used in the same way as we find that all branches of this terrorist organization use this, and we find that all the victims suffer from the same symptoms or the same way of harm. They change with anything. The answer is wrong, because our victims leave the area in which they were injured, the effect of these weapons will remain on them, and this reveals categorically that the answer is wrong if a weapon, for example, in Iraq, is used by someone. 1. At the branches of this gang in the province of Diwania, when the victim leaves this area, the effect of these weapons is supposed to stop, because we said whether they are a weapon to be bought and have instructions for use, so that there is a similarity in the symptoms or effects of this weapon or the way it is used. For example, an area led by terrorism has become it. This weapon is killing everyone who is against it, from the people with these weapons here. It is assumed that if the injured person leaves this area to another area, the effect of this weapon or waves will cease. So that they reached areas that the previous regime had no authority over, and thus the influence stopped. Even if these areas also possess chemical weapons, but the same weapons were purchased from the same source, but here they are in the hands of a different person who uses them, perhaps for humanitarian or civil purposes, but we find that the situation is very different in weapons. For mind control, all the wounded who flee from the affected areas, these weapons remain above their heads even though the ones who hit them are terrorism. What? Does this mean that terrorism is the dominant force or what? Now another question is, are mind control gangs an organization similar to human rights or Greenpeace, for example, with branches in different parts, and they all operate with the same laws, the same name, and the same record? The answer is wrong, and the answer is this is not possible, because every organization must have a central command office or office its president, and the rest are branches or he has authority over them. Here in Iraq, mind control gangs led by a demon who made himself a prophet and with him a homosexual security agent beat. 2. The international forces in Iraq were the ones who were inciting people against them, and these are all terrorist operations, so how can Iraq be a branch of such an organization? It strikes the American or Canadian forces, for example, and then goes to them because there are branches or colleagues to it and receives capabilities from them, also benefits from technology and others. As if it did not, he does anything. This is also impossible. Here we only have one thing left, which is that the mind control gangs are a giant intelligence network that was affiliated with the former regime in Iraq, and they have changed or not various masks, including that they are a sacred organization and its leaders entered the Bible Church in Iraq, so we find that its whole method is an intelligence method. For this reason, perhaps every victim in Europe and America mistakenly thinks that it is intelligence, and this means something from the country in which he lives, while this method is the way in which the gang operates everywhere in the same way and the same method. It can also easily notice something very important, that a mind control guerrilla policy is against America and the countries of Europe, and all their friends, have goals of sabotaging these countries. Only sabotage everything. This is exactly what I noticed. All of them are orders issued by their leadership in Iraq, and it is this terrorist who made himself a prophet and is hearing me now because he is spying on me for 24 hours, and this filth claimed that it is orders from God to become against these countries, or God hates these countries and has made himself the voice of God or the interpreter of the Holy Spirit, which left all the wonderful personalities in America and the countries of Europe and their friends and came quickly to this terrorist, the intelligence officer, to tell him that God is against these countries. Look at this dirty game.
3. Now I will describe to you what the victim of choice and how the gang perceives him, that by looking at them is just a body, their leader exploits him only, meaning that their leader hides himself and does not appear tall, because he is afraid of being exposed to danger, and instead of this he implants slices of mind control on a person's body, and thus he can too see and hear through this body, means as if he appears in another body that is different from his original body. Here is the game that the victims of choice do not know anything about. He gives orders to all members of his gang to say that the victim of choice is the leader over them. Here is another important issue, that the victim of choice also does not know about such a thing and thinks other things, meaning perhaps explaining others' view of him in a different way while they look at him like a person with a position, money and followers, or he is the leader of this gang, he is the one who records items for her and gives orders, etc. Now we notice some video clips of victims of this kind, and their bodies were exploited for a while, and after that the gang leader wanted to replace them, so the elements of this took by completely dropping them. For that, here we have victims from different places, but all of them were harmed in the same way, and the same game was repeated with every one of them, and this indicates that these gangs have one command center, and he is in Iraq, and he is the one who invented this method or dirty laws, and also the method of course can never be similar to the style of a person with the method of another person at all with everything, and if it happens, one person may have another, but it is impossible for dozens of people to know the same way and they are different. There must be a link between them, or they are members of one network or one organization, and they have one leadership that is the source of these laws or the method, and this is a very well known thing for this gang, its leadership in Iraq, and the center of evil in Iraq also. The situation in Iraq differs from everywhere. For example, these gangs are the ones who lead Iraq and control everything in it, while in the countries of Europe and America they are just gangs that strike and escape only and use treachery and deception only. It has no influence. This confirms that Iraq is the source of harm and funding for these gangs, which all operate under one law only, and also the orders from Iraq. Of course, I return to say that this gang she is the one who drives in Iraq, and she is the source of the decision in that it is something very similar to a group that farms for a group of people, and they all have beehives, for example, but one of them neglected the farm that he has, or was an evil person, and wasps came and wiped out the bees and became the hives in this farm, and after that they started attacking the beehives in other farms, returned to their bases or their place and multiply and threaten the rest of the farms here. The same thing in mind control gangs. They have become the ones who control Iraq and have made it their base.
机前的观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看贵州卫视为您带来的《亮剑》。本栏目由金立 E 系列手机赞助播出。那今天呢，我想跟大家说一件挺奇怪的事儿。有一位来自云南的朋友，他是一位农民工朋友，他给我们节目打来热线电话说啊，他最近呢经常可以听到一种奇怪的声音，而且这种声音呢已经导致他没有办法正常生活了。这个声音非常的可怕。到底怎么回事呢？我们先来看一下。
潘高武所在的奎阳村地处偏僻的云南边境，村里人过着简单朴素的生活。然而，就在村民们都在为自家农活忙碌时，潘高武却说自己已经再也无法回到正常人的生活，因为他快要被一个声音逼死了。
他可以喊你跳走，
他喊跳下去，跳下去。
哎，会的。就是这个声音啊。这个声音就是当地用的，就是你家一家人死啊，或者各方面三句话从你背后都提的死。
据潘高武说，他是被一个诡异的声音控制住了。这个声音一天24小时不间断地出现在他的耳边，说着。
For 12 years. He explained that it all started after he filed a corruption report in 2008. It was against then police chief of the Wuning County Public Security Bureau inside Jiangxi province. Soon after, he described being illegally detained, beaten, intimidated, and framed. Not long after that, he was involved in a car accident, something he says was staged. It left him hospitalized. He explained that since then, a device has been used to send information directly to his mind.
They observe my mind with the device and watch my movements. They also use the audio function to send voices to my mind, disturbing me round the clock.
Following his trip to the hospital, he says he began to suffer from the unique harassment. Wang says he believes the local police are behind the electronic harassment. That's because, according to Wang, they talk to him through it using their dialect and accent.
They don't talk about anything else. They only talk about what I'm doing, disturbing me no matter what I do. No matter what, they'll make noise and talk to me.
Wang told us that sometimes he can hear 5 or 6 people talking simultaneously, even up to a dozen. He explained that to him it seems that they take shifts talking, insulting, and denouncing him, in an effort to spark his anger and make him talk back. According to him, the technology makes it so that only he can hear the noise. He describes it as a never-ending battle in his mind.
The local officials are too corrupt. They seek to kill you with this torture. They thought I couldn't last 2 years. They never imagined I would make it this long.
But Wang's long-term fatigue has taken a serious toll on his health. Now he suffers from symptoms like headaches, weakened eyesight, and shortness of breath. Despite the symptoms, Wang says that his mental health is intact. In order to prove he's not insane, he underwent 2 MRIs and a CT scan, showing that his brain is still functioning normally. Wang began in Beijing in 2015. It's
Chinese victims that has published their own complaint and file cases, and these are the evidence. These are real hardcore evidence. So I'm putting this here. It will catch their karmic frequency. And then I'm using that to do the healing. So I'm thinking these people who is victimized, they're still under attacks. You know, a lot of them gone abroad. There are instances where the husband and the whole family, they, through political, that you can...
看一眼身上的。这个方，这个地方，对，又过了。这个地方，几个？
不属于垃圾马上是吧？现在这个肚皮啊。
And humiliate me in public. See, right now, the more I hit this, the more they're squeezing it and melting it. They're attacking my rear end. They're attacking my lower regions, personal areas, electrocuting them. They have actually changed my body, as you know. They're cooking my throat. This is a we're trying, you know, and they're popping my ears. They're popping my ears. And they're trying to make me be humiliated again and again and again against my peers. People, they're trying to use my limbs. So, hi, I'm sorry. My gang stalkers have gone on overload. As you know, they're trying to murder me right now. They tried to leave me on the side of the road, homeless again. I have $3 to my name. I'm in New Orleans. People have called me to get me to a safety, and they're going on overdrive. I have Mylar in my hat. I have Mylar underneath. I have my scarf. This was handmade, hand burned.
And yeah, it began with gang stalking, and I started to see and meet strangers on the bus or on the subway, or just when I was out walking, and they knew things about me and they talked about me, but I had never seen them before, and this happened very usually. And it started that way, and it's hard for me to remember from year to year exactly, but sorry, I got.
When they made the gang stalking, did they made comments on your thoughts?
Not at that time, not at 2003. It started when they made comments on my thoughts. It started after that time when I was in a hospital and woke up in another hospital.
Here in Sweden?
Here in Sweden. And I woke up at another hospital, and my brain here, my front lobe in the brain, it felt like it burned. And I started to cry for help, and the nurse came after 10 minutes, and she said, "We can't help you. There is no pills that can take away your pain. Just go to sleep." Sooner I woke up at the hospital I was at first, and I had this very annoying feeling in here, it felt like I had get spruta. Injection, yeah. And after this it started that I felt like people could read my thoughts. But it wasn't.
Inconsciemment, j'avais peur. À un tel point que je ne pouvais plus taper à la machine. J'avais les doigts qui se raidissaient. Puis me tourner comme si j'étais dans un genre de blindage, dans une armure. J'étais devenue très automate.
And understandably, the victims are saying to us, we dared to speak out after 20, 30 years wait, and now we want things to be done quickly. And for them to have to wait a few more months, it's hard.
6. That a bank means instead of being his place is that he is a person who escapes from one place to another, but he became responsible for the thing that was stealing from him here. I have something about myself, which is that I am just a very simple citizen in Iraq, and I do not give any orders, and all I say I mean by it only Iraq, and I do not have any organization at all, nor am I a tribal leader, and I do not work in the government, security or politics, and I do not have any position everywhere in Iraq, and there are no followers of me, nor I am a simple or an example of there is someone who imitates the behavior of me, and I do not represent anything, also a very poor person, and thus I'm absolutely not responsible for any party or person spying on and saying other than this or visiting any characteristic of me. Also I have a goal, and it is exposing this gang inside Iraq is the nest of Satan and the source of the harm that it tries to conceal itself. Also reveal the largest massacre of genocide by means of weapons for mind control in history, which was carried out by this gang in Iraq. Also terrorist acts against international forces in Iraq, and also the theft of Iraqi funds are also the ones who hit France, Belgium, the source of a lot of harm against the countries of America, the countries of Europe, and their friends as well. I reveal that this devil who made himself a prophet is just a dirty terrorist, and I will return to you. I am just a very simple person in Iraq. I do not have anything in my hands, but I do not have anything, even a personal weapon. Also, I do not make myself the Messiah, as I did not say that I work in the unseen, and I consider the unseen something that is not legitimate at all, and it is inside Iraq just a game that terrorism uses to achieve its sinister goals, meaning the unseen, and the Holy Spirit uses it by terrorism inside Iraq in order to keep playing what he wants and throwing responsibility. Subnat. There is no secretary, agent, or person guarding me or guarding money or property, and I do not have anything to give up, give or leave as well. I am not a member of this gang, nor am I the one who records elements for them at all, or a keeper of their records, and I do not bear the responsibility of the spy who plays the unseen game and records items for him through my body, or when I live in my family's house, or he makes food, drink, clothes, money, books, or things that I use, listen, see, or think, etc. And then I find this terrorist outlaw spy, either he records elements that make them count to leave them, is that he will give them orders or choose, etc. Also I do not have a half, a quarter, or anything in it. It is a terrorist gang too. The reason I am facing this gang is that they are a terrorist organization that was attacking the international forces and inciting people against them, and they were the ones who stole Iraq and spoiled everything in it and spread sectarian strife in it as well. This is one of the most important reasons that I am against them, and not at all that I am from them, or I turned against them, or I have a half in it or with them. I represent a party, or I wanted to remove a competitor from me, etc. I do not give any orders in Iraq, just as I do not want, for example, to exchange a thief with another thief, for I am against all this terrorist organization in Iraq and its dirty leader. Notice the fact that I am just a citizen only.
It has no effect in any way. I mean, all the rumors about me are lies from the elements of this gang only. Also a lie that I settled or marry or exchange a faggot for a wife's wife. Other lies are all from this gang as well. Simple, poor only, and I am not responsible at all for any spy who visits any characteristic of me. For example, they say that I am a conservative, a leader of a tribe, or I represent a political figure, etc. and every day a lie is new from them, or they say I am the one who registers for them or their financial official or a symbol, etc. All lies, and the reason is that their terrorist leader is in Iraq, is trying to exploit my body, and these tricks they do with all the victims of choice in Iraq, including fools and simple people. I also do not have any followers in all parts of Iraq, and this is something I made sure of myself completely, but before I spread the word until I am only one person, and I hope to beware of anyone or a party inside Iraq who lies and claims that it is with me, or a team for me, or the followers who lie, and they are among the elements of this devil as well.